in the last stream, we were working on setting up our first item repairer to allow us to automatically repair the iron pickaxe here anytime it's used by this block breaker. And between streams, what I've gone ahead and done is duplicated this setup 3 more times so that now all of our different frozen stones are all being placed, broken, and having their respective pickaxes repaired automatically all the time. Now, these ones are working slightly differently. In the last stream, we did put 4 overclocking cards into this downward-facing extraction item card to allow it to move the iron pickaxe up faster. Over here, we haven't put in the same overclocking cards, mostly because they're expensive on the gold front and we don't have that much gold, but it's kind of fine. It does mean that it works slightly differently. You'll be able to hear it here in that over here, this pickaxe gets used once, and then because the extraction card is so fast, it gets pulled out instantly. Whereas over here, the pickaxe gets repaired, and then when it goes down, it gets used a few times before it gets extracted back up. So you'll hear it get used, you know, maybe 5 or 6 times, and then it gets extracted up once the node catches on to the fact that it's no longer a fully repaired iron pickaxe, and then the system repeats. And so these two are the exact same speed. The only, like, they're going to produce the same amount of ore in the long run. The only difference is that this is more consistent. It does 1 and then takes a break, and then does 1, then takes a break. Whereas this will do 6, but then take a longer break that is equal to 6 of these breaks. But overall, everything should be basically the same. Other than this, between streams, I have also gone ahead and made another pulverizer over here for redstone. We do need to make sure that the bottom there is set to output, and of course, I need to make sure that this is set to extract, which is the reason why that is currently not working. Another problem that we're going to run into here that I did mention a little bit in the last episode is that currently things like gravel, sulfur, and cinnabar, they're going to clog up these pulverizers, because once this gets to a stack of sulfur, or a stack of gravel, or a stack of cinnabar, the pulverizer is not going to have enough space to keep working, and it's going to stop. The way to fix that, I think the easiest way for us to fix that, is for us to get another storage drawer. Ideally, maybe a 2x2 storage drawer, which is going to require yet more regular Minecraft chests. That's fine. We've got a bunch of wood. We can go ahead and craft that down into some planks. And then if we do something like this, we can make ourselves a bunch of chests nice and quickly and use that to make ourselves some more drawers. Of course, I did just use all my planks making chests, but there we go. Fantastic. Let's take you. And what I think I'll do is I'll hide this in the back room, maybe right about here. That's still connected to our drawer controller, and so should still be accessible by the storage scanner. But all we'll do is we'll dedicate this to cinnabar, gravel, and sulfur. I'm going to lock that to make sure nothing else goes in there until I want it to. But now everything from here should get extracted, should go into this drawer. And if we take it one step further and craft a void upgrade for that drawer, we can then tell the storage drawer to delete any excess cinnabar, gravel, or sulfur that it gets after it fills up, which I think is going to be ideal. The only tricky part here is that we don't have 8 obsidian. However, we do have a blast chiller. It is not down. Did I put it back in the system? I did indeed. Let's go ahead and temporarily replace that right about here. And we do now, of course, have lava being made automatically over in the nether. And so if we grab a couple of buckets, I guess let's say 8 buckets here, because we are going to need 8 buckets of lava to get 8 obsidian, we should be able to head on through into the nether, grab those 8 buckets from either the magmatic dynamo that we made in the last stream or from the magma crucible that's making the lava. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Fantastic. That worked because there was lava backed up in here, and the lava is being made incredibly quickly. Now if we go back, we should be able to use that lava in the blast chiller to make that void upgrade. And once that's done, the thing that I want to actually work on in today's stream is starting out with some hostile neural networks, getting started really with this simulating resources questline, the goal of which is to get this Ender generalized prediction, because once we have that, we have one of the key pieces required to actually complete the pack, get the weather changer, and then use the weather changing catalyst to get rid of the snow. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let me quickly dump all of this into here. Thankfully, this can hold 8 buckets all on its own, and although it's fairly slow, we do have our time in a bottle. We can make this a fair bit faster, and if we had enough power, this would keep up. Thankfully, we can also accelerate the lapidary dynamo there just a little bit to hopefully try and keep up on the power requirements? We can. Oh, it's not quite getting enough. Let me do one more there. That does leave us with still over 2 hours worth of time. That's fine. This is unfortunately constantly resetting. We don't quite have enough power being generated. I could go again on the lapidary dynamo, but going from 64x up to 128x is a massive jump in the amount of time used. Like, it uses a lot more of the stored time to do that jump when I don't really think it would help. And chat is right. I think the problem there is just how fast the pipe can extract here. It can only pull 256 FE per tick out, and so maybe we should have sped this up and not just the dynamo. Either way, this is now done, and so that should be almost everything we need to make a void upgrade. Nice. Let's go ahead and drop that in here, and now once these fill up with 512 cinnabar, sulfur, or gravel, any excess cinnabar, sulfur, or gravel that is made will just be deleted, and we don't have to worry about it. So now that that is taken care of, over here, if we want to get started with hostile neural networks, which used to be called deep mob learning, this mod is like a recreation of that in the exact same way. It does the exact same thing. It's just called hostile neural networks now. We are going to need a couple of things. The first things we need are a model framework and a prediction matrix. Thankfully, neither of these are too difficult. The prediction matrix is probably the easier of the two. It's iron, gold, clay, and glass panes. Super easy. We're going to need quite a few of these. The model framework is also not too difficult. Does require a redstone repeater, which does require some redstone torches. Let's craft those. Let's get that repeater going, and let's get ourselves a model framework as soon as we get some more clay. Currently, we are kind of completely out of clay. That is fine. One thing we can do here is we can craft some gravel with our dirt to get coarse dirt, and then we can turn that dirt, of course, back into regular dirt. But can I also just drop this in to get clay? I totally can. Nice. Fantastic. I don't think we're going to need that much clay today, and so this should be, hopefully, all that we really need. Let's quickly place all of that down, and then using our ultimine, we can just go ahead and break all of it, at which point we should then be able to make our model framework. We are, of course, missing one singular smooth stone. That is also fine. I'm going to make a little bit of smooth stone here because I feel like we are constantly out of smooth stone, so let's do that. As soon as we have the first one, though, we can make the model framework. Nice. Now, in order to put these to use, we need a deep learner, and then subsequently, we need a simulation chamber. The deep learner here is, again, fairly straightforward, very similar recipe. We do need 3 more of these redstone repeaters, so this time we need 6 redstone torches, and we also need 4 more obsidian. And so I think, just like we did a second ago, we're going to have to do one more trip back to the nether to get the lava to make the obsidian in the blast chiller. On top of that, if we look ahead a little bit, we also can see that we need 1 more obsidian for the simulation chamber as well, and I think that's basically it. We could, if we wanted to, also look at getting a loot fabricator. The loot fabricator also requires 1 more obsidian, so I'll go ahead and try and get 6 buckets of lava, and then we'll come back and turn that into 6 obsidian, and then we'll see if we can't craft the simulation chamber, the loot fabricator, and the deep learner. For that, though, we are also actually going to need some ender pearls. Right now, I think we have just the 1 ender pearl in here. We do. And so I guess what we'll do is we'll grab 6 buckets of lava. We'll come back. We'll get those converting in the blast chiller. And then Twitch chat has pointed out that the nether is probably our best bet for finding enderman. As we can see here, there are quite a lot of them down by this warped forest. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's take all those. Let's get those smelting, and then let's head over to that warped forest and see if we can't get at least 1 more ender pearl for the simulation chamber. Actually, what we should do here, I think, before we go fight the enderman, and even before we make the simulation chamber, we should probably get the deep learner here, because the whole idea of this mod is that we can take the model framework and the deep learner. If we take the model framework here and we right-click it onto an entity, we then bind it to that entity. And the idea is that if we kill 6 of that entity with the model framework inside of the deep learner, we can then utilize that model framework inside of a simulation chamber to simulate the killing of that mob, and then use the drops that we get from that in the loot fabricator to generate mob drops from that mod. To show you what I mean here, we can go and right-click on an enderman. Again, I think it is going to be easier to do that in the nether. Annoyingly, we don't have any... We do have 3 diamonds. I'm wondering if it's worth making a diamond sword. We could also potentially just actually make a netherite sword, although a netherite sword is an upgraded diamond sword, right? Yeah, it is. That's fine. Let's make a diamond sword, and let's just make sure we take a little bit of cobblestone with us so that we can potentially cover ourselves up to prevent the Enderman from attacking us. But if we head on through here and go find some Enderman, we would only need to kill 6 of them in order to get a Enderman data model that is capable of then simulating more Enderman kills in the future. We just need to head further this way until we hit that Crimson Forest. Okay, so here's our first Enderman. I don't think he's going to get hostile if I just right-click on him. He's not. But we now have an Enderman data model. And so now, if I... Gosh dang it, I forget that I need to be wearing the correct leggings here. That is fine. Let's do something a little bit like this, just to... Hello, my friend. I'm sorry. I'm sorry it has to be this way. Let's do this. Let's do this. If we hide under here, I am hopeful that we can kill the Enderman. Oh, of course, before I do that, let me put the data model in the Deep Learner. You'll see right now, if I open this up, you'll see in the top left it says 6 remaining. If I kill him, 5 remaining. So we need to kill 5 more Endermen while holding this Deep Learner. We can hold it in our offhand. I don't even know if it has to be held. It might just need to be in our inventory. But we just need to go and kill 5 more Endermen, and then this data model should be good to go. And by the looks of it, there are a lot of Endermen in the Warped Forest here, and so hopefully killing 5 more of them shouldn't be too difficult. That's number 2, and it's the ender pearl we need to make the simulation chamber. 4 more to go. That's number 3, and yet another ender pearl, which is nice. That's number 4, and yet another ender pearl. That's number 5. And that's number 6. We got very close to dying there, but we made it. Now we could, if we wanted to, you'll see the number in the top left there has changed back to 12 remaining. We could try and take this further, because right now we just have, if we open up our Deep Learner here, we have got a very basic data model. However, we could increase the tier from basic to advanced by killing more Endermen, which is something we might look at doing, because killing Endermen here in the Warped Forest is really not too difficult. But before we do that, let me quickly head back and show you how we're going to actually use it, and then we can decide from there whether or not we want to come back here and do some more Enderman killing. Okay, so back here at our storage scanner, we should be able to make, I think, this simulation chamber. 3 more redstone torches is all that we need to make the redstone comparator. And then once we have the comparator, I think we already have everything else for the simulation chamber. We do, nice. So I am going to go ahead and put that in right about here, because we do have power here. Now, the power usage is going to depend on the mob that we put in. Right now, I think the Enderman data model, yeah, is going to be quite expensive. You'll see that the simulation cost is 512 FE per tick. So if we put this in, it's going to start draining our power, I think, very quickly. To compensate for that, I guess we should probably make some more lapidary dynamos, but the lapidary dynamos do require gold. And although we do have a little bit of gold, and although we can get more gold fairly easily utilizing the snowblock system, we have now completely run out of snowblocks. I used all of them between streams to get the 20 gold that we now have. What we could do instead is we could look at making some integral components. The hardened integral component here has a scale factor of 2x, and so if we make that, it's going to upgrade our current lapidary dynamo to be able to produce twice as much power. So if I do something like this, instead of producing 40 redstone flux per tick, this is now producing 80. But we could take it yet further. If we type in dynamo, we can make these auxiliary reaction chambers, and these right here can be used to increase the generation rate of the dynamo at the cost of efficiency. So it's going to use more lapis per redstone flux generated, but it's going to generate more redstone flux overall, which I think is good for us. To make this, we need some silver gears, which are easy enough. And we can make and put up to 3 of these into our dynamo here, because we have 3 slots left for augmentation. So I think we'll try and make 3 of them. That is going to require a total of 6 silver gears, which is the easiest part of the equation. We also then need to get 2 signalum plates. Signalum is fairly straightforward, I think. To make it, you can put over in the induction smelter redstone, copper, and silver. So if we grab some redstone, which we now have a decent amount of thanks to the automation of the item repairers, and obviously the new pulverizer that we put down as well. Let's grab a stack of redstone, which is a single click. I always shift click to get a stack, and that's not how it works with the storage scanner. You just click normally, and then we also need some silver as well. Let's put all of those in here. Boom, boom, and boom. Give that a little tap as well. And then after that, we just need hardened glass. And to get hardened glass, we need nether quartz, obsidian, and sand. And somebody in the Twitch chat actually made a pretty good suggestion here, in that we could probably just take the blast chiller over to the nether. Also, we can put the signalum in here, by the way, to make these signalum plates. But if we take the blast chiller here over to the nether, we can just place it down where the lava is being generated, and we should be able to just constantly make obsidian that we can then tap into whenever we want it, as opposed to having to manually go back and forth to the nether to get lava and bring it back and have it turned into obsidian that way. So if we instead do something like this, we do need to get another energy pipe to move that up by 1, but if we do, we can then do this, and that should start receiving lava if we set the bottom to input, and then we can potentially set the top to output and maybe put a storage drawer there. But even without it, this is going to start passively producing obsidian using the excess lava that we're making, because right now we do have excess lava. The whole system is not really using that much of it. So let me quickly grab one more energy pipe, and then we'll head through and maybe use our time in a bottle to get a bit more obsidian, at which point we should be able to come back and make a bit of hardened glass, and that should be basically everything for the dynamo augments. Actually, it turns out we only need 2 obsidian to get 4 hardened glass, and we only need 3 hardened glass to make the 3 augments that we need, and so no time in a bottle required here. Let's quickly head on back up. Let's grab 2 nether quartz out of the storage scanner, along with 2 sand, which of course we don't have. That would be far too easy. In that case, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to grab our mana weave armor, because without it we will freeze to death up on the surface. The iron armor is actively a cold armor, and so with it we will get actively cold. I didn't get my mana weave boots. That's my bad. I didn't need the cloth there. Let's quickly swap this out. I did temporarily swap my iron chest plate for a gold chest plate that I got from a zombie pigman, just so that I didn't get attacked by them in the future. Let's quickly head over to the lake and see if we can't get a little bit more sand to get this hardened glass. Unfortunately, I think in the last episode when we went down... Hello, friends. I think in the last episode when we went down to the bottom of the world to get lava, I think we went too far away from the energized creeper, and I think he despawned, because right now we have no energized creepers around, unfortunately, and so I think we... despite keeping him for a while, we have managed to now lose him, which is unfortunate, but also does make it a little easier for us to get about, which is quite nice. Here we go. We've got a load of sand. We'll take all of that, and I actually kind of want to take a bit more as well, maybe. Fantastic. Okay, that's good. And we can always get more from here as well, which is also nice. So back over in the induction smelter, nether quartz, obsidian, and sand. Nice. Again, it's very, very slow, but that's fine. We can give that a tap while that's working. Let's make sure we've got everything else. We have the signalum, we've got the hardened glass, fantastic. And now we should have everything we need to make 1, 2, and 3 of these. Fantastic. This should massively increase our power output. Adding 1 of these takes us from 80 to 160, 2 takes us up to 240, and 3 takes us up to 320 redstone flux per tick. It is going to start burning through this lapis a lot faster now, but that's pretty good. So it's still not 512, obviously, which is what we need for the simulation chamber here. And so we're probably going to want to make another lapidary dynamo and get that hooked up and potentially upgrade that as well. I'm hopeful, though, that doing it this way with the upgrades to the dynamos is going to make it just a little bit more affordable on the gold front. So that should get some lapis. It does. Now we're up at 360. And so if we do a similar thing here where we try and get another integral component, that's going to add basically another 40 redstone flux per tick to the mix. How are we doing on gold? We've got 7 gold left. Okay, give me some more iron. Again, we can take a fair bit of iron now. We've got a lot of it. I'll take 32 iron and I'll take 16 nickel, and we'll drop all of that into here, like so. And this time we're probably not going to need the full set of 3 dynamo augments to make this work. I think just a couple should get the job done. In fact, even one might get the job done. So we'll take you, and then do we have what it takes to make yet one more of these? We do. We just need 2 more silver gears, which, as I mentioned earlier, is actually the easiest part of the entire endeavor. And so that now should be more than 512 redstone flux per tick. If we do this and this, that's 160 here, plus the 320 there. And so we should now be good to go. So in here, what we can do is we can place in these prediction matrices. Every cycle of the simulation is going to use one of these prediction matrix, and you'll see here in the bottom right, there's a percentage going up. When that hits 100, the simulation will either be successful or unsuccessful. Right now, because this is only a basic tier model, it is more likely than not to be unsuccessful. That one right there, unsuccessful. You'll see the model accuracy is 5%. That means that there is only a 5% chance that we get an Enderman prediction. This Enderman prediction is what we can use in the loot fabricator to make either end crystals or ender pearls. And so the more cycles you go through, you'll see the accuracy is going up. As you go through more and more cycles, it simulates more and more kills. And so right now, you'll see it says data collected is 3 out of 48. I think the way that it works, I'll take this out after this gets to 100. There we go. We actually did get a prediction now, which is quite nice. But the way this works is that in the Deep Learner, if you go and kill the mobs manually, you can collect the data faster. So for us, it only said that we needed to kill 12 Endermen to collect 48 data points, whereas if you do it in the simulation chamber, you're going to need 48 prediction matrices and also just a bunch of power in order to do the same thing that killing 12 Endermen would do in the real world. So you can either fight them manually or you can leave them in here. For us, the prediction matrices are not really that expensive. They're just iron, gold, and clay. Again, gold is something that we don't have a ton of, but making a load of these isn't too bad, and the more cycles this goes through, the more accurate the model becomes, and the more likely you are to get these Enderman predictions, which you can then place, as I mentioned before, into a loot fabricator. The loot fabricator here is fairly straightforward. The only thing we don't really have here is diamonds now, because we used them to make a diamond sword, which in hindsight probably wasn't particularly useful, but we also don't have netherite just yet. That is fine, because we do have some frozen ancient debris, which I believe we can go ahead and smelt in here. And then I assume we can take that ancient debris and either smelt it or... I was going to say pulverize it, but it looks like the optimal thing to do here is to put it into the induction smelter. And that gives us 2 at a time, as opposed to just the 1. Nice. Once we have 4 of those, we can then potentially craft up 1 netherite ingot if we have the 4 gold, which we do. And then at that point, we're just 1 nugget away from having 1 more gold, but that still wouldn't help us because we need 2 gold for this. And as I mentioned a second ago, we also need another diamond. So I guess we're going to have to do 2 things here. The first is potentially make a pipe upgrade for this, because the chat is right. This requires 512 redstone flux per tick, and while we are making that, we can't actually extract it because right here, this energy pipe can only transfer 256 RF per tick. To fix that, we need to make at least a basic pipe upgrade. The basic pipe upgrade can just go in by shift right clicking, and now this can move 1024 RF per tick, and so we should start to see this backing up on power again whilst still going through the simulation process. The good news from a quest perspective is that we kind of skip a lot of work by getting an Enderman data model, because the quest line here wants us to first get a generalized overworld prediction, and you'll notice here we have some generalized ender predictions, which is the final goal of this quest line. The way the quest book wants you to do it is it wants you to get overworld predictions, which you would get from any of these mobs here. So if you were to go and just kill 6 cows and then use that in the simulation chamber, you would get generalized overworld predictions. The same is true for like any overworld mob like spiders or zombies or skeletons. There's a lot of mobs that will get you the generalized prediction. You can then craft that generalized prediction into nether prediction with a netherrack, or you can just use a nether mob to make that happen. And then from there, the pack wants us to get an ender overseer, which does require a nether star, and then use that to get the enderman prediction, which seems like a real long-winded way of going about it, because it also uses half a mana pool's worth of mana, or maybe a quarter mana pool's worth of mana, to get 1 generalized ender prediction, when instead you can just use enderman. And so the end quest here says, alright, it's snow time, and wants us to craft up each of these 4 creative element containers. Each one requires a bunch of ender prediction, but I don't think that's going to be too difficult for us, because we're just making the ender prediction here. We need, what, 32 in total, 8 per craft, and then we don't need NA for the weather changer. What we do need for the weather changer, though, is some blaze prediction. And so one thing we are going to want to do here is go back to our fortress, I think, and with another data model, fight 6 blazes, so that once we have enough generalized ender predictions, we can pivot over to using the blaze model to get blaze predictions, and then those blaze predictions are required for the weather changer, which is kind of the final craft. We also need 4 time in a bottles, which is interesting, but that's all pretty good. Let me quickly go ahead and once again get our block breaker and block placer. Drop those down over here, block placer and block breaker. We can go and drop a copper shovel into there, and I think for the first time in a while I might actually head back up to the surface and do some manual snow gathering to allow us to get enough snow to actually get some more gold to try and make this loot fabricator so that we can make more ender pearls going forward. Once we've got some more snow, you can press K to craft all this down. If you hover over the stack and press K, it just crafts it into the block automatically. And then so long as we have a shovel in the block breaker, we can just do this, and that's going to very quickly break all of that snow, and of course also break our shovel, but that's fine. We can go ahead and make even more shovels very quickly, and that should make light work of all of the snow, and should also make it pretty easy for us to get a large amount of golden nuggets, at which point we almost have everything we need. I think the only thing we're going to be missing now is the diamond, right? Because for the loot fabricator here, we need 2 diamonds, and currently we just have the 1. And so for that, I think once again, the easiest option is going to be to take our mana tablet. How are we doing on mana over here? Is this keeping up? Not really. We are losing mana slowly but surely, which is unfortunate. I will go ahead and drop the mana tablet in there and use this to acquire a bit more mana. We'll take that mana through to the nether. Over in the nether, we should have a little bit of mana in our mana pool, simply due to the fact that the energized arrow flowers have been working while we've been doing stuff over here, and so hopefully there's a little bit of mana waiting there for us, and we can do a little bit of manual frozen netherite placing to try and get just 1 frozen diamond ore. Yeah, we do have a little bit of mana over here actually, which is very nice indeed. I do want to make sure that I'm not wearing my mana weave armor when I'm here in the nether. That is not going to work out well for me. In fact, I could probably do with the full set of iron armor, but real quick, let's take a stack of frozen netherite and let's see if we can't get just 1 crumb of diamond. If I drop this in, we should start transferring some more. And there's a lot of frozen nether quartz coming in, but almost no diamond. And look at that. Right away, 2 diamonds back to back. You'll love to see it. Can we get home before we die is the question. I think the answer is going to be yes. Just, we are completely out of toast sandwiches now, which is something that we're going to have to rectify. But let me go ahead. Oh, we're still dying? We're going to die. Oh, no, we're not. We're fine. Ooh, that was close. That was very close. Let me eat some apples temporarily just to try and regenerate a little bit of hunger. There we go. Okay, fantastic. We will make some more toast sandwiches in just a second here. But real quick, let's go ahead and take this frozen diamond ore. We can temporarily hijack one of these pulverizers here just as soon, of course, as we smelt that up. I'm very impatient, so we'll go ahead and use our time in a bottle there. And then if we drop that in here, the same thing's true again. We can make that just a little bit faster, and that should be everything that we need for the loot fabricator. It is, which we can go ahead and place right about here, and in here we can place these Enderman predictions like this to make ender pearls. And this does also use 256 RF per tick, but it's not going to be running permanently. For now, I'm going to keep the rest of the predictions because it's possible we might need some end crystals at some point. But for now, this is working just fine. And in fact, we do now have enough generalized ender prediction to make all 4 of these creative element containers. And so I think we'll now take out the Enderman data model. We'll put that back into the system. We'll go ahead and see if we can't make another data model here. And then we'll head back through to the nether as soon as we have this, which is just 1 more redstone repeater. So give me 2 more redstone torches for that redstone repeater. And then if I'm not mistaken, I did smelt up more smooth stone earlier in the episode. I did indeed. Fantastic. So now what we're going to do, we'll dump basically everything in here that's not needed back into the system. We will head through to the nether, head back to the nether fortress that we found in a previous stream, try and find a blaze spawner, kill a couple of blazes, maybe even more than 6 this time, to try and get a higher tier model framework for the blaze prediction. And then we just need 4 of the blaze predictions to make the weather changer, which is kind of the second to last quest of the pack. Before I go, I do want to make sure I have my iron armor, because otherwise I am going to burn in the nether, and I'll also take some gold boots as well, just to make our lives a little easier with the natives. And then, other than that, before I go, I will also get a few more toast sandwiches, but then we just need to find ourselves some blazes. Okay, so this is a blaze spawner. Hopefully we'll get one that spawns in, and as soon as it does, we can just right-click on it with our model framework here. And in doing so, we then just trigger the countdown for basically the first 6 blazes that we need to kill. If they don't spawn in quickly, which it looks like they're not going to, then we might just do 6, but if they spawn in quite fast, we could look at killing more than 6 of them. Oh, there's our first one. Let's give this guy a right click. I'm going to back away a little bit because that fire is coming from me. That's fine. And then we do need to make sure that this goes into the deep learner, at which point I'm going to bait out one more set of fireballs, and then we should be able to just finish him off. Nice. So now it's just a case of doing that at least 5 more times. 4 more times. So I've got the first 6. We've killed 7. You'll see in the top there that we need 11 more if we want to get it to an advanced data model. The Twitch chat does make an interesting point here, though, that if we want to speed up blaze rates, because right now they are coming in, but they're coming in pretty slowly. If we wanted to force the blazes to spawn in that little bit faster, we could use our time in a bottle here. If we shift right click on this, we can speed it up to hopefully accelerate the blaze spawn rate. I was going to go higher, but I'm a little concerned that if I spawn like 25 blazes, that I might just die because our armor isn't the best, and we do kind of keep having to back away here. But we do only have 6 remaining now, and so I think we can make this happen, chat. You'll see they're spawning in a lot faster now that we've accelerated it. All right, and there we go. We now have an advanced data model. Again, you can take it even further. I think there's elite and then maybe ultimate or something like that. But, oh, sorry, it might be like elite and then self-aware. I think it'll tell us, actually, if I take a look here. If we look at the data model, it goes basic, then advanced, then superior, and then self-aware. And so if I were to kill 29 more, I would go to superior. That would give me a higher chance. Like basic gives us a 22% chance, superior gets 65, and then if we went all the way to self-aware, we'd have a 99.5% chance of getting a blaze prediction for every cycle. But we don't need it to be that high. We only need 4 blaze predictions, and so the advanced model that we have is going to be fine. We'll leave it running while we work on other things. Now it's just a case of trying to get home without dying, which is easier said than done. Alright, and once we're back at the base, we can do the exact same thing here where we take our blaze data model, drop it into the simulation chamber, and if we put in the prediction matrices, that should begin producing the blaze predictions, which is what we're after. It's also going to produce the nether version of these predictions here, which are not really too useful for us. Like I said, we could go the long way about turning those into ender predictions, but we don't really need to. And so I think, chat, honestly, there's stuff that we could do, but I think we're pretty close to being able to just finish this pack. I think next time we can come back, we can probably craft these 4 creative element containers. We can look at getting the fire ingot. I was checking it was not firefight ingot. It's not. Down here, this questline runs to the fireite ingot, so I think we'll come back, we'll do some more elemental craft, get ourselves a fireite ingot, look at getting enough fireite ingots to make a block of fireite, then we can craft the weather changer, and then we can craft the weather catalyst. Using that on the weather changer should get rid of all of the snow, and at that point, the pack is basically done. And so, yeah, we'll make that happen next time. For now, though, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Frozenopolis there.